The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine?
You think you've seen the sun, but you ain't seen it shine.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Ask the Treksperts, the show where we answer your questions about Star Trek. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Sarah.
And today we're going to review the TNG episode Yesterday's Enterprise. Early Season 3, we just watched it, now we're going to review it. Now Sarah, you haven't seen this one in a long time, right?
Probably 2 or 3 years.
But you've seen it lots of times.
Probably 6 or 7 times.
Now, Yesterday's Enterprise is one of my absolute favorite episodes of TNG. I never get tired of it. I think it's one of the best episodes of Star Trek ever made. But why don't you start? Because
okay.
I remember you not liking this as well as me, and other points we've watched it.
I remember me not liking this as well as you either.
Okay, so why was that, and what was your reaction this time?
The funny thing is, I don't remember why. I think it's been so long. It's been, like I said, 2 or 3 years since I've even seen it. And I watched it this time with some trepidation because, you know, while I never thought it was a bad episode, I remembered not liking things about it. But this time
Trepidation. Well done.
It's a good word.
Yeah, well done.
There you go. I'm getting paid by the word. No. But yeah, I thought that, you know, this time watching it, I was trying to find all the things that I thought were wrong with it. And I couldn't find anything. And that just weirded me out, so...
So Yesterday's Enterprise is, of course, the big time paradoxy episode of Enterprise C accidentally going back in time and messing up the future to where the Federation is at war with the Klingons, and suddenly Tasha Yar is alive again, and Guinan, with her extrasensory perception from her Elorian-ness, figures out that this isn't right, and she tells Picard that he's got to send that ship back in time so that the timeline gets fixed again. And really fascinating story.
It is. It's an intriguing concept to begin with, and something that really laid the basis for various kind of cool, twisty plots later in TNG.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is the best type of TNG episode, in my opinion.
I agree.
TNG has a lot of neat, what was I going to say, political kinds of stories, especially like with Romulans and things.
Yeah.
But I kind of enjoy this kind of thing even more, where we have a weird what the kind of moment, and then we have to solve it.
And if you can mix that with politics, all the better.
Yeah, absolutely. But
yeah,
but
the
here,
whole weird what the TNG episodes are the best.
But here, you know, you start with this teaser, and I'd say this is one of the best teasers in all of Star Trek. Even if the rest of the episode had been bad, what a good teaser, right? I mean,
oh yeah.
When it starts off, they come upon this like time rift thing, and you think you're just watching a normal episode.
Yeah.
Because how many episodes start this way? Oh, we found this rift in the middle of nowhere. Let's go investigate, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, another Enterprise comes out of it, and
yeah.
then suddenly the whole bridge changes,
yeah.
and we see
the lighting changes, the uniforms change.
We see the timeline change in the blink of an eye, and that's one
yeah.
of the neatest moments in all of Star Trek for me.
We don't see that anywhere else.
No.
That I can think of.
Me neither, and I'm kind of glad, and I'm sort of glad they never did it again.
Well, normally it's the crew that stays the same, and the rest of the timeline that changes, because of course you can't have anything change our main characters.
Right.
Because otherwise, how would they fix it?
What's really neat, well, we'll get there in a second,
sure.
with the changing characters thing, because
yeah.
that's important. But then suddenly Tasha Yar shows up on the bridge.
Yeah.
And then there's another Enterprise there, and then is like da da da.
Yeah.
And
but even before that happens,
yeah.
Worf drinks prune juice.
Right.
That automatically makes it a good teaser.
Well, and that's funny, but that's
yeah.
also, it's important that that's there,
yeah.
because of course Worf can't be in this timeline. Well,
because
he can't be on the Enterprise D in this timeline.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about characterization for a minute, because one of the things I think is really great about this episode, one of the reasons that I love it so much, is because it's not only this big what the thing. Like, there are some TNG episodes where that's really all it is, and it's fun, but you're sort of like, what's the point?
Like frame of mind, perhaps.
I wouldn't say there's no character stuff there,
well,
but there's a lot more here.
Yeah. But
and
that's a completely what the episode.
It is. But here you get, you know, we're changing the timeline, and kind of like Mirror Mirror, where it's like suddenly everything's the same, but it's different. It's that kind of now you could just go with that because it's fun to watch. But why this is let me say something. Why it's so good here is because Picard, like he usually does, still has to deal with some kind of a moral dilemma, even in the middle of all this.
Sure.
And that's why it's good.
Sure. And so you're saying that the characterization, the characters are made more developed in the timeline shift simply because we can compare and contrast the differences.
Yeah, and they're not just different people all of a sudden.
Right, they're
still the
same
characters,
person, but they have a different past, and so they've led up to this point differently.
Yeah.
So they might make slightly different decisions based on.
And they do, and I especially love watching Picard and Riker, because I mean, it's like Riker doesn't agree with hardly anything Picard says, and Picard just ignores him all the time.
Picard just dismisses him a lot.
It's really neat.
There's more of a command structure. Picard runs a tighter ship, and you'd have to. It's wartime.
Right, absolutely. And at first I was thinking, I'm not sure. I even said this to you while we were watching. I was like, I'm not sure Picard would be the guy you'd pick for the Federation flagship in the middle of a war. Yeah. And then I bought it later on. I mean, he's still. He's, he can't be a diplomacy guy now because you're in the middle of a war. Yeah. But he still has the same code of ethics.
Yeah. He's applying it to the situation.
Yeah, and he's got to be a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Just on the draw. Yeah. Just because, you have to. I mean, like, I love at the end when he jumps over the railing and goes to tactical.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, okay, there shouldn't be a railing because you have to jump over it to get to tactical. But regardless.
That never made sense.
Tasha Yar is great in this.
She is.
She really is. She's fantastic.
Well, she's written right. She's written very well.
Oh, and we should mention the writing credits because I'd never noticed this before. There are 4 writers who are given credit for the teleplay, and 2 of them are Ira Stephen Bear and Ron Moore, who are the powerhouses later on of DS9.
And if they can't write characters, no one can.
Yeah, that's right. And those 2 together, I mean, I don't see I don't see them, or at least I don't remember seeing them together a lot in screen credits, maybe in DS9 some, but man, that's just a powerhouse. Put those guys in, and I don't remember who the other 2 were, so I mean, I'm not saying that they got no credit for it, but obviously, the way the dialogue was written, you could tell that it was them. They write like this, watch DS9 and watch, for Ira Stephen Bear, watch some 4400. The guy knows how to write characters. He especially knows how to write characters in wartime.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
And the great thing is that you start with a brilliant script, and then on top of that, it seemed like every single actor was on their game that day. I mean,
everybody.
Brilliant performances, especially from Picard and from Guinan. And, I mean, just everyone was great.
And like I said, I really love Picard having to deal with the whole, well, should we send them back or not? Yeah. Because the idea is, if we send them back, they might avert all this war because they might save that Klingon outpost like they were supposed, like they apparently probably did the first time.
Yeah.
And but also if we send them back, then we're committing 140 people to death.
Yeah.
And that's this regular TNG kind of problem to deal with. Yeah. And you would expect
do that for the possibility of saving 12 billion lives if it just so happens to avert this war.
And what I love about it is that usually. Now, maybe this is an argument for another time, but I think usually Picard would have made the other decision.
Usually, perhaps. But I do think he made the sensible decision in this case.
Well, especially because it's hard to argue with Guinan.
Yeah.
And I like the whole. I love. Well, of course, this is Whoopi Goldberg's best episode, at least in my opinion. And I love that line where Guinan says, "You have only your trust in me to help you decide."
And I think what also
that's what he does.
And I think what also sold me on it was when he pulled Rachel Garrett, the captain of the Enterprise C, aside and said, "Look, we're losing this anyway."
Yeah.
I mean, one ship is not going to make a difference.
Yeah, and she almost talked him into it, like, inadvertently.
Yeah.
Almost, because she was kind of like, well, I'd be happy to go back.
Yeah.
Like, I know we're all going to die, but, I mean, I know if it's important, I'll do it, but you need ships in the here and now. And he says, we're losing the war anyway. It won't make a bit of difference.
It'll be over in 6 months, so...
We're almost out of time, but before we stop, we should also mention Rachel Garrett.
Yeah. Brilliant. I mean, that is a way to write a female starship captain.
Yeah, and I should have looked up the actress before the show. I don't know her name. I'm sure Elle will tell me later. But brilliant performance, and she is the way female captains ought to be.
Yeah, I think they should have based Janeway's personality
a little more off of
hers. because she was fabulous.
So we like to rate on the same scale I do for Superhero Rewind. We're gonna rate on the 0 to 4 scale, and I don't know. Yesterday's Enterprise has always been a 4 for me, so I'm gonna rate it a 4 now.
Well, and before watching the episode, I was all set to rate it, maybe a 3, 3.5, depending on what I was feeling. You've sold me on 4. I watched it again this time, and I couldn't find anything wrong with it. Really couldn't.
Well, thanks a lot for watching. Ask the Treksperts. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Sarah.
And we'll see you next time.
The best is yet to come.
The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. Come a day.